We gon' walk it out and mountains. And I'll rise like the day. I'll rise unafraid. I'll rise up, and I do it 1,000 times again. And I'll rise up, I like the waves. I'll rise up, in spite of the ache. I'll rise up, and I do it 1,000 times again.
Blessing and love. Welcome back to Battlefield to Wellness. And today we are talking about conservation. We are talking about doing more for, not, like we said, everything for the greater good and healing. And we can't heal if we're not knowing how to do it appropriately, and healing the earth and healing ourselves and not depleting things. And I can't keep speaking to those levels of conservation and healing if I don't give you the information on how to do it. So without further ado, my very special guest, my special friend, I have so much respect for this man, doing incredible work for our community, the only community garden in an urban city as big as Las Vegas, little big Las Vegas.
Yes.
The only one, and just so much more first and that goodness. It's David McClenton.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank
David,
you.
please
Thank you.
give them your roles, your empowerment. Tell them who you are.
So, my name is David. I am the agricultural engineer for Vegas Roots Community Garden. I'm also the founder of the Green Samaritan Group and the captain of the USS Windrunner, which is a Star Trek cosplay fan group and charity organization. So, we're talking about healing and conservation. There are so many studies that shows that there is a lot of healing in gardening and growing food and working with the earth. And this is something that I do. One of the things that I specialize in at Vegas Roots is I make the soil there. Vegas soil is called caliche, which is sand and dirt. And you really can't grow too much out of that. So when we talk about growing in Vegas, we have to start the foundation by recreating the soil in which we grow in. So one thing with doing that is composting is we waste nothing. Food scraps, plants that have dried out, trees, shrubs, and foliage. We save all of that and we turn that back into soil. Some of the things I specialize in outside of making soil is I try and make additives or fertilizers for plants. One of the things that I love, this right here, it's called worm tea.
I saw what it makes.
Yes.
Especially needing in a soil-driven, deprived desert, you have to have additives and supplements to the soil, or you're not going to have a truly organic soil experience with the soil.
Right.
And in order to do that, you got to use what's natural in order so you're not crazy balancing it.
Mm-mm.
And when I saw the produce and how that water returned in the fruition of the plants.
Yes.
You know, I come from agricultural background. Worms are necessary.
They're very necessary. Western culture looks down on worms because worms are on the ground. They look they're underneath the ground, and you know, when we die, they say we become worm food. But literally, what worms do for food is amazing. They give us so much. They give so much back to us in our soil. And so I have a worm bin, and I feed my worms, and I water them. They eat the food, and they cast it out, and then I have a tap on the bin, and I collect their tea. This becomes a steroid for plants. Plants love this. Early on in this growing season, we didn't have a lot of growth after our spring planting. So one day I just took it upon myself to take out some worm tea, spread it along the garden, and next thing I know, we have bushels of giant watermelons, 18-pound watermelons growing, okra, zucchini that's literally from my fingertips to the middle of my arm. Massive amount of, we have pumpkins growing so early in the season, but just a little bit of this goes a long way.
What else do you have over here?
So along with worm tea, I also make something called banana water. This is really simple to make. Everyone has experienced having a plant that's dying and you can't water it enough to keep it alive. Well, it's not water that it needs nutrients, it needs food. So one of the best things to do is to take banana peels, throw it into a gallon of water, put it outside, let it ferment for a couple of days, gas it daily. After about 3 to 5 days, you can put this on your plants and they'll revitalize them. Now with that, I also have dried banana peels. Now, sometimes you don't want to
It's my secret weapon.
Yes.
It's my secret weapon.
Rest. You put dried banana peels out on your plants in your soil, it's going to revitalize the plants.
Almost within hours, you could see it.
You can see it. The plants love it. So now, growing in Vegas, there's an insect infestation because when you're growing food in a desert, there are going to be creatures there who want to eat because they're deprived.
Yep.
And you don't want to kill them because they're just trying to live, because life wants to live, right?
You taught me something. Let the living live.
Let the living
I tell
live.
people all the time, my friend David said something that's the deepest thing ever. Let the living live.
But we don't want them on our plants.
We have to protect us to keep going into this cycle.
I've made this amazing, simple pesticide. I'm gonna let you
Crop
smell
dusting
this.
in a new way.
I'm gonna let you smell this. What does that smell like?
It's a little more cheesy.
You smell cheese out of that? Mix it up, yeah. Agitate it.
I want to cook with this.
You probably could.
What is this?
So
This is a beautiful smell of sweet and spice, and the sweet is what's throwing me off. The spice of it, so if I'm an insect, I'm definitely going to be attracted to it in such a way, but it's not. It's a spice in it.
it's not. So
What is it?
this is literally nothing but citrus peels, dried up, crushed up, and then grounded into a powder.
Oh my God.
So you take this and you sprinkle this on your plants that have aphids or beetles,
Mealy? Mealy bugs?
mealybugs,
Really?
shoe bugs, and they will go away.
How?
They do not like the citrus of the orange peels.
Why?
I don't know. I don't know. Listen, I don't know their philosophy. I just know the science in this.
But what do
works.
they do? I know that you know this works, but is it like, or they just smell it and don't even come to it?
They just go away. I won't put this onto a plant unless I see it has bugs. And if I see it has some bugs and beetles or aphids, I will put this on there. I will sprinkle it, and then they'll go away. And this won't harm your plants. It won't burn your plants. It will literally just be.
What about the heat of the citrusy on top of the plants?
It won't do anything.
So any environment, what about, so, we're dry, don't have any, the air
moisture.
and the breeze and the heat dehydrates so much of our plants, and we have that southwest problem, right?
Now, Vegas will suck the moisture out of anything.
Anything.
So I haven't figured out a way to keep our plants hydrated. Only thing I know is this will literally get rid of your bugs. Now, this is multi-purpose. So here is vinegar, water, and citrus peel powder.
What does that do
It's a cleaning solution.
for the plants?
No,
For
for your
every-
house.
Oh my goodness. Even the powder version. Oh my God.
So you add
Vinegar, water, and this ground down orange
Yes.
pills.
And you can spray it on your walls, in your kitchen, on your mirrors, on your glass. Wipe it down, and boom. This stuff is amazing. It is literally amazing what you can do with the citrus powder.
What else is a multi-purpose? I mean, what else can we do?
So
Pesticide,
you're-
cleaning. I'm fascinated. It's everything.
insect repellent. You can wear this and keep the flies and mosquitoes
Stop!
off you.
Stop
Literally.
it!
Literally.
Just put you a little oil sheet on it and it's put it right there on top. You got a nice little mask.
And they go away.
Oh, wow.
They go away.
You know I'm about to be in the tropics, so I'm finna do it.
Girl, this right
And
here.
I got oranges at the house too.
It's amazing. So the idea is that you take out all of the meat,
Yep.
leave the rind,
Yeah.
dry it out.
Yeah.
Then once it's dry, you crush it up.
Yeah.
And after you crush it up, you then take it in a blender and blend it.
Maybe a
Or
coffee grounder
A
will work.
coffee grounder will work perfectly fine. And you just turn this into a powder. And then
If we do it old school, you'll have like a nice wooden or, coconut, if
Yeah,
you're tropics and, you'll.
But we ain't got time for that.
I know, but I was just saying, a lot of people may not have it, so I'm like, how are you going to ground it? Oh, get
You-
something and
you
mash
can-
it together.
You can do that. You can mash it up, but that's a lot of work.
I know.
I'm just saying, a coffee grinder, a ninja blender,
Okay.
any type of food processor
Okay.
will break this stuff down, turn it into a powder, throw it into an airtight container, and you're good. Now, you said, I want to cook with this.
You know what
You can cook with this.
Dehydrated ground orange pills that now can be sprinkled on all kinds of dishes and cooked within. You can even make bread with that because
You
of
can
the
make bread with it.
You can make all kinds of things. You've just conserved what you would throw away. It's no longer about going into the garden for the compost. It's now saying conserve and use. So can you grind up banana peels this way and use it in different ways?
You can. In fact, I want to do that. I just haven't did this with these. But this is something I just started doing about 2 weeks ago. Real quick, I want to say this. We have to learn to reduce our waste, right? And this is learning how to reduce our waste, right? We can make cleaning products. We don't have to always buy them. We can figure out ways to use things so that something doesn't have just a single use. I am so against anything with a single use purpose. Everything should have at least be used twice, right? That way we're reducing our waste. Now, if you can't reduce your waste, if you have a problem with reducing waste, I understand. It's changing a habit. An initiative that the USS Windrunner has taken on, and then another Las Vegas group has picked this up as well. It's picking up trash. I'm asking all of our members to pick up 5 pieces of trash that you see on the street a day. And if we do that by 5 people, that's 25 pieces of trash we picked up a day. That is over 150 pieces of trash a week. We have to realize that our individual efforts can make a collective impact. We have to start thinking that, yes, I can make a difference. We have to get out the mentality that, my vote won't make a difference. Yes, it does. Your single action makes a difference. And if we do these single actions collectively, it'll make a difference. We can literally change the world just by picking up 5 pieces of trash a day.
And just by not throwing away
And
buying things that aren't single use.
Right.
I grew up very, very much not. The median income of where I grew up is literally less than $25,000.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I grew up in a farm, like in the sticks. You know, it's not somewhere where you go other than to retire and stay away from people. You know, so you're not looking to, you know, do anything, and you're talking about a impoverished southern area. And conservation is all we did. We lived off the land. My
Right.
great grandfather, this is not something that is unfamiliar. We've just been marketed into a way of believing quick, fast, use this, you could get this chemical so much, but the world actually is way too fast. You know, the earth's already spinning super fast, so fast that now we can't keep up with our vegetables and all of the different produces of the world, when we could make even more produces, but we got to make even more processing manufacturers in places of that, rather than using the land and conserving that space for growth and healing what the actual other things in the world has made us sick from.
Right.
So in order for us to get into that, I go back to indigenous practices. How did the people that had less than manage?
Manage. Right.
That's base. If you don't know the basics, look what happened when we had 2020. Survival skills. How many people had survival skills
Not many.
without the influence of others?
This is what I tell people, and this goes back to 2020. Don't wait until you're hungry to want to learn to grow food.
Ooh, ooh.
Don't wait until you're hungry.
Just sit with that, because when you say hungry, that goes into every single aspect of
your
life.
Girl.
Everyone, every dimension. If you wait, it goes back to the grasshopper and the ant.
Mm-hmm.
Now, people may not know about the grasshopper and the ant.
ant,
Tell them
right?
what the grasshopper
So-
and the ant.
So there's this old fairy tale. There was a grasshopper, and he was hanging out with some ants, and the grasshopper always wanted to play
Party!
around and
They-
have a good time.
What up?
And
Let's
the ants
go!
were always working,
Like, I ain't got time.
and they were getting food, they were building their homes, burrowing down, and the grasshopper was just having a good time.
Let's
during
go,
the
let's
spring,
go.
During the summer. He wants to hang out with the ants, and some
They
of the
like,
ants
this is fresh too, man.
would indulge the grasshopper, but then they'll go back to the work. And then when the winter came,
They weren't ready.
the grasshopper is out in the cold, and he's shivering, and he's like,
He went to his brothers, ant brothers.
he went and looked in on the ants, and they were eating. They were warm. They were well insulated. They had their homes. They had food to last them throughout the winter. And the grasshopper was wondering, why don't I have this? Because you wanted to party. You wanted to have this good time. You didn't want to do the work. And that is the moral of the story. You got to do the work first. You can't enjoy the fruits of your labor if you don't labor.
Period. Period. If you are willing to just receive what people are just going to put on you because you don't know the basics, because the people before you didn't know the basics, because it got stripped away for whatever reason. But the truth of the matter is, we live into now society. This is an era of knowledge. There is nothing in this world you cannot Google and know. There is no excuse on why you need to call me when you can Google what you gonna ask me. Okay?
We live in an era of information.
Pure
And
information.
right now, our information and our technology is at a level where it can save our humanity. We just have to be willing to make those changes and seek out those answers.
Now, I'm going to say something on the flip side, devil's advocate of what I just said. Now, if you can Google every single thing to find out what to do, and you live in an area that area is actually no joke, deprived. You don't know nobody know how to do nothing. So you got to reach out and listen,
This
right?
This is what is known as, I'm going to quote Donald Rumsfeld. This is one of my favorite quotes. These known unknowns, and then there are the unknown unknowns, which are the things we don't know. We don't know.
We don't know what we don't know. That's where it comes from.
That's where it comes from. But we literally have to be willing to seek out information.
It's a hunger, though.
It is a hunger, but don't wait until you're hungry.
If you don't labor, then you wouldn't be hungry. Because you just sitting there getting fat.
Yes.
Somebody's feeding you.
Somebody is.
And you don't know what it took to get to that level. To work hard. You only know consumption, right?
Well, this is a society, and the only way this society works is that we are consumers.
Pure consumers.
We have to be consumers. No matter what you think about, oh, I work and I do this. Yeah, you work so you can pay bills, so you can buy food, so you can go out, so you can be entertained, so you can be a consumer. You work to be a consumer.
You don't work for hands that say, give that all to me, because the lessons of life are in the labor.
Now, the person who you work for, those are the people who are driving society, because they're saying, I need you to do X, Y, and Z so I can do this. So my life can be better, so that I don't have to consume anymore, because I have people doing it all for me.
That's deep.
It's real deep, right? But it all goes back to the foundation, right?
Yes.
It all goes back to, guess what? If we knew how to grow our food, we wouldn't depend on Smiths. Just think about this, and this is a wild concept, right?
Not really. My great-grandfather he never went to the grocery store his entire life. We had everything there. We didn't go to grocery stores.
Well, this is a wild concept for the 21st century.
Yeah.
What if you have 5 houses on a block, and each house grew 2 different products? That right there, if we can create an economic food base, we can change this society. So the Constitution says is for the people, by the people, of the people. However, we aren't involved in any, I won't say any of that.
A lot of it.
But we can take that power back by growing our own food.
And our food is medicine.
And making our own medicines.
Yeah.
Learning how to use herbs to heal yourself.
Your food is your medicine.
The
herbs are just your supplements for when your food didn't give you enough.
It give you enough.
It's a complete process of whole wellness and integration into the entire universe.
There are new sicknesses, new levels of cancer that's never been heard of before, because we're eating bad food. We're consuming bad food. And by doing that, we're hurting ourselves. These levels of type 2 diabetes, being morbidly obese, heart disease, kidney failure. Chadwick Boseman died of
colon cancer,
I
believe.
Yeah. How?
Now that goes into a whole different,
but
all kinds of levels.
But it's, we've been feeding ourselves poison from the time we've been able to eat, because we haven't been eating anything natural. Everything in the grocery store has been sprayed down with some kind of chemical at some point in time. No matter how organic it says it is, if it's sitting on a shelf, and it will sit on that shelf for a couple of days. And I've seen produce. They don't last weeks.
Well, what you don't realize is the produce is already probably GMO, so that it's no longer in that organic form, because it's genetically modified within itself, so that it can be resistant to pesticides, resistant to aging, these are the preservatives on top of the GMOs. So when you're getting ready to actually put that on the truck, it's already been sitting in refrigerated transfer trucks for weeks. And so by the time it gets out of the back of that store and gets on the shelf, it's already been 2 weeks. And then if it's before that, it's been frozen. It's been in extremely cold temperatures, and then the
Oxygen
longevity.
deprived
Yes.
coolers.
And then that within itself, we know how living beings without oxygen are. Your actual medicine of the food and the compounds is no longer at the state that it would have been at, because even though you froze it, there was a whole process before that that deprived the actual medicinal properties inside of the plant.
Right.
So every plant has terpenes and, its own, cannabinoids and different phytocannabinoids and phytocannabinoids, not we have cannabinoids, but all of these different properties and molecular levels to our healing is in these foods.
Right.
These plants, these
Right,
trees,
right.
those immediately connect into our system. But if they are synthetic, they can't fit.
Into our system, into our
Therefore,
natural
they
system.
go on top, just like any pharmaceutical or processed anything. So it will go on top.
It's like oil sitting on top of water.
Correct.
It's not mixing.
It's not going to go into the body. Therefore, you see more morbid obesity. Therefore, you see more gut issues, leaky gut, unprocessed food, more filler foods, things that are going to be completely lasting longer on your shelves. And while we know that it's going to also have the addictive factor to where that now you're going to want to keep buying it because they've made it so good, you can't deny that it doesn't taste like the real thing, and it tastes better than the real thing, because the real thing. Yeah, sorry, I'll stop.
Sugar is a drug, and everything.
The most
sugar.
addictive thing in the world.
And everything has sugar in it. And you think, oh, this doesn't have sugar in it. Someone told me this.
Fructose.
Cheerios, which is supposed to be the most heart healthy cereal, right? Has 83 grams, and you guys can fact check me on this, of sugar per serving. And you're only supposed to have your daily dose of sugar.
Less than a cup or a cup?
No, your daily dose of sugar is only supposed to be like
32?
less than that. It's like
28?
12 to 23 grams of sugar, right? So a serving of Cheerios is quadruple the amount of
your day.
And then no one has just a serving.
No, we have like multiple
We have
servings.
these big bowls of cereal, so we are literally thinking we're eating healthy, giving ourselves diabetes.
Yeah. Well, if you've ever seen forks over knives, and this ain't, the kind of knives where you're cutting your food. It's knives for heart disease. It's a documentary on Netflix. It's everything that I tell any of my clients in the past to take a look at, because I come from the Department of Agriculture and understanding how that looks. And I also have seen butcher shops where you're cutting off tumors of the cow or the pig. And so all the rest of the meat, you don't think it is affected with those cancer cells?
They're all affected.
It's all, but we cut it out, made it look real pretty, added some dye, and put it in your plate.
Just consider this. If you had a watermelon that has been eaten up by bugs on one side, are you going to eat the side they haven't got to yet?
Now, I'm country, so I had to conserve. So, yeah, I'm going to actually, dibble on that other side.
Right.
Look, I had to eat off the stuff. I would just wipe that off. No, it's not right. You don't, because it's completely, that's a porous fruit. It's just like with the strawberry. If you see mold, you need to get rid of it. It's a porous fruit, which means that it's like a sponge. It's going to
It's
go
all
over.
in there.
It's in there. You have to remove, that. So
that
it means you don't eat
bacteria.
it. You don't.
Right.
Don't eat unless it's cabbage and then you're making me some.
Yeah, that's cabbage.
This
the
cabbage is
medicine.
sauerkraut. Oh my God! And then cabbage within itself. Oh my, we're not gonna do this.
No, because I won't get to you about the cauliflower
kimchi.
leaves.
I was thinking about kimchi actually.
No, cauliflower leaves. Let me tell you.
Cauliflower leaves. I did it last year. Tell them. I did broccoli leaves, cauliflower leaves.
So we eat cauliflower, we eat broccoli, and we discard the leaves. But those leaves are literally the most healthiest part of that plant.
It sure is. People don't know.
And they are literally medicine.
That's kind of like dandelions to people.
We won't get onto dandelions.
I won't. I won't.
Roundup.
Ooh.
So Monsanto, who makes Roundup, grows fields of dandelions to sell to the pharmaceutical companies because dandelions are some of the most heart healthy
Powerful
plants
plant medicine.
that you can have for your heart. But cauliflower.
Let me tell you how that goes down, John. Did you? I love doing this job. My God, I love
But
doing
literally,
this job.
literally, they want us to kill the very thing that they sell to heal us.
Look at the cycle.
Look, that is capitalism at its worst.
Don't you get John started over there.
That
Don't
is
you
literally
do it.
capitalism at its worst.
Don't you get him started.
I see him started. I see him.
All right, let me see. You know, we like to be able to free. Me and John are veterans. We fought for freedom, not to be controlled by societies. That's what we stood for.
Mm-hmm.
Now, poor John got drafted. I said yes, so, you know. It's not. No, oh, he didn't get drafted. He went in. He chose to go in.
Okay,
I was like, okay, so I can't.
didn't think he was that old.
I was like, no, draft was going. He's Vietnam vet. Yeah, heck yeah, the draft was going on. But here's what's the reality. A lot of those Vietnam vets understand survival. That's why they go so hard on Generation Z, because a lot of those vets established that in their families of what it was like living off of the land in the middle of Thailand and Vietnam and all of these places in survival series. That changed the course of our society. Meanwhile, moms working, no longer gardening. 1920s already took out a lot of the herbs that were healing.
Right.
Pharmaceuticals came heavy. Hospitals were now booming. Mental health clinics,
business.
big business. Mental health clinics and institutes went to a whole new level and scale. Switched over to hospitals, left out the mental health. Think about it. We don't need you thinking straight. We just put that over there. And now you have a society that is built off and completely dependent upon a government and departments that feed into this cycle for you to continue to feed into the society of liberation while completely not liberating the people. Blindly
Misleading us.
misleading us. So this documentary, Forks Over Knives, tells you the truth about agriculture. It is written by a scientist doctor who actually grew up on a farm like me and is now the one that was pushing. He takes it all the way back to where what you don't know is we're number one for osteoporosis, joint problems. Guess
wow.
what causes it? And guess who's the number one consumers of it? Place over in Europe. But guess who has the number one cases and what it is?
What is it?
Milk.
Oh,
Milk. Milk causes it, and we enforce it, and the commercials were there telling you that's what you give your baby, that's what you do to make you strong. Meanwhile, milk is the
does
pus.
body good.
Milk is the pus of the cow. Think it through.
Oh yeah.
You're drinking mucus. Sorry.
I haven't.
Now you know.
We haven't.
Now you know.
My family's been off of milk. I want to say 7 to 8 years. So, when my daughter was 7, she's 14 now, so 7 years, she started developing breasts. And we didn't drink the heavy milk. We drank like the 2% light milk and whatnot. And so we went to the doctor and he was like, oh yeah, a lot of kids are doing this. So they're just developing early. I was like, that don't sound right.
Out of all the evolution of life, you're telling me all of a sudden now, our society in America is the only one decided to evolve and start our children developing early.
So
Guess
me and my wife, we did some research, we talked about it, and we switched to almond milk. And switching off of the cow's milk literally slowed her breast reduction.
Yeah, you know why? Because cows are given feed
Hormones.
and hormones within that and stimulants within that. Just like we talked about what was on the fruit. Well, this is what's being injected into the meats.
Well, dig this, right? So we're talking about cows.
Don't eat the cow.
Well, how about
Chick-fil-A.
this? How about this? How about this?
Greenhouse gases.
In order for any female to produce milk, they have to be pregnant. Now, these cows on these dairy farms aren't pushing out babies every day. So they're injecting them with hormones to make their bodies think they're pregnant.
And you eat it, and then your child has breasts like she's getting ready to be pregnant too. Look how that worked. Let me tell you.
You are what you eat.
Oh, well, we cooked it off. You can't cook flesh off.
No, you're still eating it. It becomes
it
encoded.
is them. It's in their code. It's in their DNA.
Yes.
As to it from the beginning of inception to conception, that is what they're made of. Their mama's got it in it. Her mama got it in it.
So there's something called epigenetics.
Oh, here we go.
Now,
Part 2.
so I know this is going. We're running out of time, but this is just something to just really consider, right? Because I would try to explain this to people years ago, but they didn't understand it. If talent and genius can be passed down generation to generation, so can trauma.
You know, he's going to be on the healing circle because we're going to be talking about epigenetics and being able to genogram, and how you are, if you could literally take each segments of the people that you knew and what they went through and how they process and realize the behaviors, and if your family is open enough and you can find this information, you'll see that those genetics, you are going through the exact same thing as your grandmother.
Now dig this. Now we're humans. We can address this. We can process it. We can break that cycle. Cows can't.
No, they can't. We're a species that has been given that capability.
Their trauma gets passed down from generation to generation to generation.
Have you ever seen a cow that is full of blood? It's because it was killed traumatically. Have you ever seen chicken that way? That means it was killed in that light and it released, and so it's bleeding extremely. So in some lights of traditions of all over the world, this is a known thing. Unclean. That cow, that chicken, that lamb, it usually goes back to lamb, is bleeding in that light because that was not loved. It was intense. It's showing the intensity of its blood.
This one farmer told me that he did eat meat, but he appreciated it more because he grew his animals up with love. They had a purpose, but he gave them a full life. And it reduced what he ate of meat, but he still gave those animals that type of life where they were happy and loved and felt good about everything.
Yes. Well, blessings and love. Thank you so much for joining us on conservation, and you know exactly what you need to do now to get more benefits out of your plants. Conserve what you got already there and still do what you need to while learning the depths of what our society is teaching us. Go back to the basics, learn what you need, and be grateful for all that you have, because there is no lack. We just have to find different ways.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for being here and shedding your knowledge and your wisdom and your community love. You're doing so many great things here.
Thank you.
Aren't you the only one here in Las Vegas that's community garden?
There's, I want to say,
Were you first? What happened?
we are the longest running community garden in Vegas. There are others that are popping up, but Vegas Roots has been here 11 years. And we've been in the community for the community. It takes community to build community, and this is what we've been doing, is building community.
All right. Well, blessings and love. Thank you so much. I'll talk to you soon.